Hey, it's Aaliyah, and I am back with another conversation. Daily Conversations is all about highlighting people's stories, their whys, their impact to inspire and educate you to do the same. So, if you are looking for some inspiration, you're trying to figure out where your next steps are, or you're trying to figure out like how people are doing this without like a whole bunch of money, everyone isn't a millionaire or billionaires or influencers out here, but still trying to make an impact, then tune into Daily Conversations. I try to post podcasts you all weekly, but if I don't, just know that it will still get posted. So just continue to stay with us, okay, as we are moving through all of these conversations. But we have a beautiful guest today. I can't wait for her to share her story. So if you don't mind telling us who you are, what you do, and something interesting about yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Dahlia Quintanilla. I am the founder of Liberated Learning. I'm also a somatic movement healer. I'm a facilitator. I'm a curriculum designer. I'm a dog mama. I'm a partner. I'm a nature lover. I'm like just gonna keep going. All the things about me. And something interesting about myself. Ooh. Well, I think something interesting. The first thing that comes to mind is my last name's Quintanilla, and I think it's my third or fourth cousin back on my dad's side is actually the famous Selena Quintanilla. So like the bitty bitty bom bom, the
Yeah, that's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna tell you, and it's so funny that you're giving me that vibe. Like I was gonna tell you, wow, you look so beautiful today, and I was trying to relate it to someone. I didn't want to say you're giving the Selena vibes. You really are. Yes, definitely.
See, okay, thank you.
That is so
Thank
interesting. That
Yes,
tops
that was
like
just the first thing that popped to my head.
that is so cool. You just and it's so funny because I used to tell people, and I don't know why I used to tell people this, but maybe because I loved her so much. But I used to be like, "That's so Raven is my cousin," and like I used to tell people that all the time, and I really used to believe that. Like I really used to believe that somewhere down the line we were cousins because I just felt like,
Hey.
you know,
We're all cousins at the end of the day, you know what I mean?
exactly. So let us get right into learning a little bit more about you and how you got started with liberating. I'm sorry, is it liberated learners?
Liberated learning.
Liberated learning. How did you get
Mhm.
started with liberated learning?
Yeah, so I started in the classroom in a very innocent, pure heart, just ready to serve kids. I was that older sister that had all the kiddos at the barbecue right around me and giving them little assignments. So it was kind of like my life's calling, it felt like to be a teacher. And I was met with the reality of teaching as we are as first year teachers, and it was really hard. It was really, really hard to see the kids in the environment I was at treated in certain ways. Certain practices were just like confusing to me as a human being. Like, why do we do that to kids? So it sent me right back to school, my first year of teaching. It was like, nope, I don't know enough. I didn't feel prepared enough to be in the classroom. And so I went right back to school and I got my master's in curriculum and instruction because I was curious about what are we teaching kids, the content, and how are we teaching them? Like, why are we just standing in front of them and talking at them and not engaging in the concepts? And so that took me down a crazy rabbit holes of culturally responsive pedagogy, the work of Zaretta Hammond and brilliant other minds that have paved ways for us to understand a colonial system, a colonized system of education, the whitewash system of education. And this is why we behave the way we do in education because we're trying to get kids to assimilate. And I was like, well, you don't say. This doesn't feel right. No wonder it doesn't feel right. But now I had this academia in my mind of like, oh, but there's all these ways that we can move forward that will help and that are the way. And so restorative practices, social emotional learning, these things that I did kind of intuitively my first year teaching, like having morning meeting, like they started having real backing to them and real like, oh, that's why we do that because of research. Fast forward, I tried making my way in education and I just couldn't fit in anywhere. I tried like different, you know, I was like a reading intervention specialist. I was helping kids tutoring and I was trying to find my way. I went back into the classroom teaching eighth grade. And then I started teaching teachers, doing workshop work, writing curriculum, and then realized that I honestly could do that kind of work myself. I got met up against another organization that was trying to put me in boxes, and it didn't feel right in my spirit. So that's when I started thinking about entrepreneurship and doing this work that I could see so clearly as a teacher with that vision, right? Like what gaps were missing. So the social emotional learning was a huge piece for me. The restorative justice practices are a huge piece for me. And then more recently in my career, the somatics became a weaving into my work. So as a young person, I had a syndrome or a condition called vasovagal syncope, which is a really fancy way of just saying that I would faint in certain like situations. So especially medical situations. So the doctor wouldn't even have to touch me. Like they could just tell me what the procedure was. I remember I was getting a consultation for LASIK because I used to wear like thick glasses.
Wow.
And she was just telling me about the procedure, and I fainted for like a minute. Like I was just out. And I just kind of accepted that that was something that happened to me. I didn't really like think deeper about it at the time until I tore my ACL. And that was now like 3 years ago. 3 years ago. So I tore my ACL, but just playing soccer with friends, just very chill, like, played soccer my whole life, but just playing with friends one day tears her ACL. Surgery was my worst fear, like
Mm.
my worst fear. And with this condition, I was really concerned about like
All
how
the
am I
things.
yeah, of course. Of course. Like, how am I going to get through surgery if I'm fainting every 5 seconds? So that sent me down a path of having to look at this condition, and blessed and really grateful that I was working with a somatic art therapist at the time. So the world of somatics was like very new to me, but she was kind of slowly showing me like, this is what it means. This is what it means. And then practicing together in our sessions. She helped me cure that syndrome by helping me ground. Like it sounds so simple, but just bringing some lavender essential oils, putting some on my wrist and just like breathing into the scent helped my body stay present. And then she taught me how to like in the medical rooms, I would just look around the room. I would fixate my eyes on like a painting or something beautiful and just like tell myself, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and help my body like remember we're here, we're safe. You don't have to escape, because essentially it was my body trying to protect myself from something perceived harm, right? So that was my first introduction to somatics, was really through that real scary time in my life where I had surgery and I didn't faint. I like got through it. And it was beautiful. I know, thank you. And not even like 2 months later, the beautiful life things happen where synchronicities just line up. And I was offered a scholarship to this certificate training called Somatic Activated Healing. It was like a no-brainer for me that I would go because scholarship, and it was one of those things where like you get the email on Friday and then they start on Monday. So it was like, okay, let's go. And that changed my life. Like there's like no other way to say it. And so now somatics is a big part of all the work I do in bringing these kind of learnings to education, to parents, to families, and organizations as well. So yeah, I think I hit on all the high notes there.
Wow, I just want to say wow. First of all, didn't even know, like, I would have never thought that your journey would have went from you being like an educator and realizing all of the things, right? All of the wrong things that, maybe push you away from education. Not all, not everyone, but it does
Right.
happen because it happened to me. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Like we're still educators even outside of the classroom. But you went
Totally.
from being an educator to going back and getting your master's in curriculum, learning more about like curriculum development and all that goes into that and what we need to learn
Hmm.
better teach children to finding a healing practice for you that now you're using in your work. I just feel like that's so beautiful. Um,
Thank you. Oh,
first of
thank
all,
you.
I'm just I'm just so I'm shocked. I don't even know what to say. That's why I'm just at shock because hearing your story and how, someone you found a mentor who helped you through something that I never even heard of, right? But it's something that you had where you were fainting from not feeling safe in certain spaces. Can you talk more
Exactly.
about like what somatic movement is and how you use it in your practice today?
Totally. Yes. Thank you for that reflection. I know even just like recounting the high points, I'm like, damn,
Right.
did all that. So thank you for that reflection. It means a lot. Yeah, so somatic movement, so the word somatic, soma just means body. So when you hear somatic anything, it's really referring to what's happening in the body. In the Western world, colonized worlds, we are taught, and it's normalized, especially in schools, that your mind and your body are two separate entities. Even in like medicine, that's kind of how we
Mhm.
address it. Like your mind, your mental health is over there for therapists, and your physical body health is over there with your doctors, right? Like they don't, but really, all these things, your mind, body, spirit, are all interwoven in one beautifully genius, brilliant system that is your body, that holds it
Mhm.
all, right? So somatic movement is a practice in listening to what's here in the body. Again, it sounds simple, but when you've been conditioned to ignore, when you've been conditioned to suppress or even like pretend it's not there, it can be a challenge. It can be, I mean, and it needs to be a practice. The Strozzi Institute is a really, really awesome resource with, they have lots of good like somatic trainings and education and blog posts and stuff like that. A really powerful bit I love to pull from them is their definition of embodiment. So when to embody something, they've found in research that you actually have to repeat or practice that thing 3,000 times. So, yeah, so 300 times of doing a thing, let's say like focusing on your breath. Okay, so we forget to breathe. I know I do. And sometimes we're not like fully taking deep breaths, right? So, remembering to like, okay, let me take a deep breath. You have to do that 3,000 times before that becomes your instinctual practice. 300 times it becomes body memory. You're like, okay, like I need to remember to breathe, but your body's not fully on board yet. So what somatic movement helps us do is practice. It's just the practice of come back to the body, come back to your breath. It's the practice of helping your body release certain emotion that's stuck in certain places. So there's beautiful work and research around what emotions are stuck in what parts of your body. Like I know the liver is a really potent place for anger and other like shame. And so that kind of emotion gets trapped literally as energy, little energy in motion gets trapped. And so
Mhm.
that's why we start to experience things like dis-ease, right? You can think of disease like something that's not feeling easeful in the body, and things start to get worse. So, and it's not always so related to health things, but it's most certainly is in some cases, right? But it also can just be like how you show up and feel emotionally, and how to process those emotions so that you can find some clarity, find some peace, find some relaxation. Because a lot of times, especially as traumatized beings of this collective that we are, right? There's stuff that we're holding that is not ours. It's from our lineage prior, and from our parents, from our teachers and the systems. Like there's so much that we might be holding in our body that doesn't really need to live there. So what I love about the practice that I'm certified in is that the whole point is to release that energy without having to like, okay, I'm crying right now because of that one thing someone said to me 2 weeks ago, and that made me really sad. Like, no, there's no need to intellectualize it. You're crying because you're crying, and that's beautiful. Let that be the release. So yeah, that's a little So a little tap in on the somatic movement, but it's become my lifeline. I like can't even lie. Like before this, I was like, "Whoa, I gotta I gotta shake some stuff out and feel, tapped into myself so that I can, show up authentically."
How are you using somatic movement in your practice to like help teachers or work with? What is your population? Is it youth and teachers? And if so, like how does it help?
Yeah. So I've done workshops with kids, little babies, like I think it was like second grade, and then also high schoolers. Those were one-off workshops, although I would be really interested in what like consistent practice with kids could look like, and how that can help them develop body confidence and awareness and all these good things. And so those practices, obviously, they're tailored a little bit different, right? Like we're not gonna do the same things that I would do with adults. However, in those practices with kids, there was one session, immediate results in comfort, in release, in especially with the high school kids I'm thinking of, because high schoolers, they come in, they're a little awkward, they're
Mhm.
like, you're gonna tell us to do stuff and
Right.
move, like, oh God. And then after they're like, oh, I feel better, like I'm like, let's hang out, like let's chat. And I'm like, so that was a beautiful change up to see in them. And then for adults, yes, I'm bringing it to teachers. It's such a joy to bring to teachers because it really does feel like a practice where you get to kind of exhale and you get to just kind of like be, and no one's asking of you anything. Like you literally, the practice is being with your body. And sure, I'll invite in a movement, sure, I'll play some good jams as I always do, but it really is like to the teacher, to have that experience for themselves. It's very powerful. Even parents too, just like that recharge. That's a word I hear a lot, like release and refreshed. Like release and refreshed. I feel refreshed. I feel recharged. Um, and so that's the ways that we're bringing it. So what's involved in like a session, let's say, is breath work. So we'll pull in breath work. The breath is always like, let's breathe better. Let's learn different techniques that help us breathe better. We bring in mindful movement or meditative movement. A lot of times we think of meditation as sit down, be quiet, no thoughts. And in this day of overstimulation and bombardment of stimuli, like that's just really hard for people. I know it was for me. And so when I found this practice, I was like, wow, I can move intentionally while listening to music, and that's considered meditation. Like that felt good for me, especially as like a neurospicy individual as well. Like my mind is always popping. So that's a really powerful practice. Moving meditation. We also pull in affirmations or mantras. So I'll invite people into saying something, activating our voice, because the voice, the vibrations. I mean, there's a lot here with the voice, but just pulling in all the sensory things that we can, really, right? Like hearing yourself say something tricky like, I trust myself, or I enjoy changing, right? I always pick mantras or affirmations that are like kind of hard to believe,
Mhm.
because that helps your brain and your body start to like grab onto new belief systems, or new things that give life, that help. Um, and then there's intuitive dance. So there's portions where it's just like, let your body move you, let your brain turn off, and let your body express itself the way it needs to. Um, in a cohort experience I'm currently facilitating, it's called Embodied Alchemy. We're talking a lot about like alchemy, elements, ritual, magic making in that kind of way. And with the alchemy or the elements, each week has been a different element. So we started with fire, we went into water, air, and then this week is earth. And so some of the invitations I'm inviting our participants into is like, dance with water. Like, how would water want you to dance with her, right? Like, dance like fire. How would fire, and just letting your body play in that space of like who cares what it looks like, because we're not here to choreograph anything. We're not here to perform for anybody. Like, this is for your body. Like, that's it. And so that opens us up to this beautiful space of like, play around, like feel it out. Like, what does it look like? And then sometimes that brings, discomfort, but like the good kind of discomfort, because we need to kind of push through those barriers of worrying about like, oh, if someone sees me, like, what are they
Mhm.
gonna think? Because that's not the focus. The focus is tending to our inner world. So I think I named, those are mostly all the parts. Oh, and the somatic movements. So there's certain movements that are correlated with certain emotion. So there's a movement for anger, there's a movement for love, there's a movement for joy, there's a movement for guilt.
Mhm.
So with this like spectrum of emotion, I can craft a really tailored session for individuals, groups that are dealing with certain things, that are kind of pinpointing at certain root emotions that might need to be processed and moved.
So, what advice would you give to teachers who, like you said, maybe want to know more about somatic movement? Maybe they are a little uncomfortable with their own bodies, or just with other maybe outside healing techniques, because this would be considered maybe an unconventional way of healing, right?
Totally,
So, like,
totally.
what
Yeah.
advice would you give to people on that subject?
Yes. Yes. It definitely is more unconventional, I think, is becoming more talked about. Like, I recently talked about somatic SEL at a conference for educators and principals, and they were like, yes, like, once they hear the sort of like background information of like mind body connection, you see your kids struggling, that you're also struggling, the connections start to make sense, and it's like, let's try it. Like they're kind of open to it. Like, let's see what is here. And there is always discomfort when you're trying something new, especially when, like you mentioned, it has to do with your body, because that's personal. That's
Mhm,
like, like there's vulnerability there. Like, this is me and my body. People have many different experiences, stories, traumas, things that impact their relationship with their body. So it's no easy thing, right? Like, this is like for those who are ready and willing and courageous enough to try something new. I would never want someone who's like totally not feeling it to try. Um, but I guess what I would say, just to people who might be like, just a bit kind of like, what is that? Um, is just that your body is going to tell you at some point, like, either way. Like, your body's communicating to you right now. There's actually research, this is a crazy number. We actually experience over 11 million bits of sensory information per second.
mhm,
11 million bits. But think about it. It makes sense. Our blood is pumping, our heart is beating, things are being transferred to different places so that we can,
mhm.
there's so much happening inside of us each moment. And so it's just tuning our awareness to that, our subtle little needs can profoundly change the way you take care of yourself, can profoundly change the way you take care of your babies and your students and the young people who you'll start to, when you're in this practice and you start to get a little more comfort with, like, okay, my breath, okay, I'm having a feeling. I'm having a feeling right now, and the feeling is that I'm frustrated. And then you can communicate that, right? Because that's really where like I statements, these really great techniques that we learn in social emotional learning, like they tell us like, say this and say that. But before we can even reach for the healthy thing, we have to connect with, what am I feeling right now? Like, what actually is going on with me? And that requires somatic awareness. Like, oh, my chest feels tight. My stomach feels hot. I think this feels like anger. I feel frustrated. And then you can communicate that to a student in XYZ, right? But things start to shift and change. So I guess my overall advice would just be like, try it. Like, what's there to lose?
I
Like, just
love that.
yeah, just like focus on your breath. You can start there. Like, you don't need to jump into a session right away. It's free. That's the other thing about this. This is a wellness practice that's completely free, that you have complete accessibility to it because you have your body. All you
Mhm.
need is a good song or a sad song or an angry song or a chill song, and then let your body just breathe and just focus on breathing, like, and move and just let your body move. Like, it could be that simple, and that's the practice.
I was gonna ask you, how could before we go, how could teachers like simply just include this practice within their instruction? Is it some way that they could just do it like quick and easy so that it flows?
Yes, yes. So that's a really perfect question. The ways that I've been helping teachers implement this in the classroom have been exactly that: little short like moments. The morning, set the tone. That's a really powerful and important time to check in with the babies that are walking through the door. What has happened this morning for them? Where are they at right now? Where are their minds? Where are their bodies? So a check-in is like number one. Let's set the humanity tone there, like, what's up? And then transitions, right? We all know that, like, that's a hard time. Educators know that's a hard time, right? Like, okay, we're moving from one thing to the next thing. A really easy way to make that a fun game is to make it a somatic practice, right? Like, let's breathe like lions to the line, right? Do like lion's breath, or, some stomping. Let's stomp to get into line. Let's just stomp 3 times and shake out whatever we need to shake out. Let's do some stretches because we just learned a lot in math, or just bringing in the body and the movement in those transition periods helps the brain like reset, refresh, and like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. And then the last is the end of the day. Like, let's reflect together. Let's like sit in what happened today. The end of the day is crazy. It's usually like a rush, a mad dash. Someone's coming in with papers that you need to pass out, and someone's book bag got lost. Like, there's just always
Right.
so much stuff going on. So how can we, and this is a really potent time to build community, right? Let's reflect on the day. What happened? What went well? What do we want to do better? And let's share that with each other. And with those learnings in mind, I actually created a SEL workbook that takes you through that exact thing. So it takes you through a morning check-in. It has a somatic practice in there that also has like the script for it, so you can just read it. I'm actually working on like making videos so that teachers could just play it and go through that like little, it's, and they're 2-3 minutes. That's all we need, really, to start off, and especially in the classroom, it's just short. And then the next page is the reflection page. What are we grateful for? What do we want to do better? And then like a small community builder exercise for people. So um, that resource is a really powerful way to just like kind of help you. It's like the scaffolding to implement somatic SEL in the classroom or in homes, because it could also be used in the living room and at home with your family.
I love that. I know that we have to go. We're wrapping it up. If there's anything left that you want to say, please share. Also, let the people know like how they can find you, what services that you provide, all of that good stuff.
Yes, thank you. Anything else I would like to share? Um, hmm, I think it's just around the importance of this work. I think we've been living in the head a long time, and the mind is beautiful and powerful, and logic is important. And we've been missing this huge piece for a long time, like this huge piece of the learning where you feel connected to something, where your body is in the room, um, is a really powerful way to help kids develop and also help you as an adult who is facilitating child learning, help you feel okay and satisfied with yourself too. It's a really beautiful um, relationship as you pour into yourself and do this work, and then you see how it pours out of you, and you're better able, you have greater capacity to meet the kids that you're working with love and care. So that's kind of the last thoughts in my mind. And then, yeah, to reach me is simple. Email Dahlia at liberatedlearning.org. Our website is www.liberatedlearning.org, Instagram, liberatedlearning.org. And yeah, would love to connect if this work speaks to you or you have questions or have thoughts, all the things. Thank you so much.
Listen, you all, if you are an educator, parent, it doesn't even matter. All this work that she is doing is for everyone. Like, get tapped into movement. I was sharing a little bit about my journey and my dancing journey, as I'm a dancer as well. And you all, movement really is medicine. Like, it is healing, and to incorporate it into education for educators, I think is so beautiful because we do so much for a lot of people, and we give and we give, and no one ever tells us to check in with ourselves. So when I see people who are providing mental health services for teachers, I absolutely love that, because we have to be reminded of that, especially if we want to keep
Yes.
doing the work.
Yes.
So thank
Absolutely.
you so much, Dahlia, for sitting down with me and
Of
having this
course.
conversation. I really appreciate it. You all, I met Dahlia through 4.0. She is another founder.
Yay!
Yes, we've got this grant and we're doing our pilots, and she's done her pilot, and we're just continuing to do the work. So please reach out if you would love to, know more about Dahlia and her work. And you all do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.